Well, as you can see, today we're driving a 2020 Subaru WRX. 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, 6-speed manual transmission, a mechanical handbrake. Yeah, all the good stuff that the WRX has always had. This is actually quite a familiar looking interior. It's been a long time since we've driven a WRX on this channel or on the Whiny Road channel. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see that it hasn't really changed that much. This is one of those old car, new old cars that I just love. There's this phase in the life cycle of a car where it comes out, it's brand new, and then it's dated, and then it's refreshingly old school. And this WRX is definitely the latter right now. So they're refreshing this. They're doing a whole new WRX next year in 2021. This is the Series.White that we're in today. It's got a few different options. Has these suede-covered Recaro bucket seats, a sunroof delete. The Series.White's based on the limited edition, which is around $29,000, and it adds $4,200 worth of options, and that also includes Bilstein sport dampers. You can see them in there. The nice yellow strut. Brembo brakes, a good option if you're going to be tracking your WRX. But if I'm being honest, $4,200 on top of 29 grand is getting dangerously close to STI pricing. And if you think it's worth it, go for it. This is only limited to 500 units. You get some blacked out Subaru badging in the back too. But otherwise, this WRX is fantastic. I have always really enjoyed these cars. They're pretty practical. Get a spare tire in the back, 60/40 folding rear seats. And they're just fun. They're fun to drive. It's a pretty understated sedan, I think, too. I do wish they still offered the hatchback in the US market. That was just such a sweet package. But honestly, this sedan is quite nice. There's a ton of legroom back here, a lot of space. Sat behind myself at 5'10". I'm very, very comfortable. The interior is quite attractive. It's very basic and driver focused, which I love, especially compared to a lot of Subaru's new stuff with all of their tech that just seems to get in the way. This has none of that. And this generation of WRX I think looks quite good too. Has kind of everything you need and nothing you don't. Let's take a look under the hood at that FA20. Still the good old top mount intercooler. Lots of space here to work on the car. Lots of accessibility, which I like. Little oil filter, oil cooler there. Water to oil. Yeah, I think, if you don't really need the hardcore nature of an STI, this has the 50/50 torque split all-wheel drive system. You throw a set of pads and high temp fluid in here. You can take it out to the track. It's a fantastic daily driver. This is kind of all you need. All right, let's take this thing for a drive, and because that's really what it's all about. Sounds good too. You get a little reverse camera in there. It's slightly offset to the left, so it's kind of difficult to center your car, but luckily you have nice big mirrors. Speaking of mirrors, no blind spot monitoring. You do get auto up-down windows though in the front, which is nice. Traction control button. Knobs and switches for your climate control. Super basic, easy to use. And you get Apple CarPlay, which is kind of all you need in a modern car. There's a little display up here that shows you your turbo boost pressure, your angles, G-forces, all-wheel drive distribution, time. We'll leave it on the boost gauge. This is one of my favorite cars in this segment. We had a GLI a couple weeks ago, and though that was an enjoyable car to drive. The gearing was way too high. It had a ton of rev hang. And as it sits, this WRX is just, it's a more enjoyable driver's car. I think this is a really solid option for an enthusiast who just wants something that's a little bit more fun and exciting to drive. This 6-speed manual is fantastic. Definitely one of my favorite transmissions. It's a little bit taller of a gear shifter than the BRZ, and it's a little bit lighter of a shifting experience than the BRZ, but it's really good to drive. It's the pedals are really well placed for heel-toe downshifts, and the throttle mapping is really nice for rev matching. Makes good noises too. You can really hear that turbo spool up. There's quite a bit of turbo lag. But again, new car, old. Let's test these Brembo brakes. Ooh yeah. They're happy. Get a little pop from the exhaust there. This thing sounds pretty good too. While we're here, might as well do a launch. The power band in this is a little bit funny. It'll give you a ton of torque in the mid-range, fall off a little bit around 5,000 RPM, and then right before redline you'll get this extra little push. When you're really hustling this WRX, it's going to be a little bit of a dog sometimes. Shifting smoothly, it's a little bit of a chore, especially with the all-wheel drive system. But when you're just driving around in this thing normally, it's fantastic. The throttle tuning is a little bit sensitive. At even about 20% throttle, you'll get into about 10 psi of boost, which can catch you by surprise sometimes. But if you short shift, it's not really that much of an issue. This Bilstein suspension is really well tuned. Ride quality is fantastic. It does a really nice job controlling the body around hard cornering. But most importantly, I think it's a pretty livable setup. Yeah, the throttle tuning in this is really aggressive. You're pretty much always going into boost. Anything above 2,500, 3,000 RPM, just watch that boost gauge climb. For what it is, it gets reasonable fuel economy. This is rated for 21 mpg in the city, 27 on the highway. If you want to see a detailed fuel economy test, Charlie from Daily Motor just did one on this week, and head on over to his channel to check out that video. He does his 100-mile route on the highway and gets some pretty interesting test results. The sound system is actually pretty decent. We'll do a little sound test here at the end of the video. There's a little bit of noise from the tires and a little bit of wind noise, as you'll see once we get on the highway. But overall, definitely quite a livable vehicle. The gear spacing in this is fantastic. It lets you utilize and enjoy this wonderful 6-speed manual transmission. The revs do sit a little bit high on the highway. You're pretty much cruising at 2,600 to 3,000 RPM. But I've been averaging around 27, 26, 28 mpg all week, at least on the highway. Day to day, it's probably closer to 23, 22. There is a little bit of turbo lag in 6th gear, but after about a second or so, things kick in and you can still have some decent passing power on the highway, at least above 70 miles an hour. While we're just cruising, let's do a sound system test. Levels, the bass is pretty heavy. But overall, I think for a car like this sound system will serve you quite well. The bass hits really hard. Hopefully that gives you guys a pretty good idea of the sound system. It's pretty decent. Tons of bass. Probably will satisfy some of the younger buyers. Alright, let's see how it handles the corners here. Lots of mechanical grip. This thing can hustle. You can really get into a rhythm with this car. The way the shifter, the way the revs drop. This is a great driver's car, guys. This thing is still one of the better options in the market. I think if I were interested in a car like this, I would be pretty hard pressed between this and a Veloster N. And if I were doing more performance driving, tracking, I'd probably swing for the Veloster N. But if I wanted a nice daily driver that was just a little bit more bigger and usable and more practical, this WRX would be at the top of my list. We have a GTI in a couple weeks, so I'm really excited to get back into one of those. But this WRX is fun. And it hits all the marks for a driver's car. Minimal distractions, Apple CarPlay, great drivetrain, really nice manual transmission. It's pretty understated. And I think if you wanted to save a little bit of money and go for a more basic package, you can get these for pretty cheap in the mid-20s. And also a car like this has been out for so long that a lot of the issues, the problems have been documented and on forums and Facebook groups and service bulletins, stuff like that. So you can have a pretty good idea of what you're getting into with a little bit of research. And also hopefully Subaru has addressed some of the stuff that's popped up throughout its life cycle. Let's take one more corner here. See what the mechanical grip is like. Get a little bit of lift off oversteer here too, which is nice. Yeah, a little bit of a playful chassis there. Honestly, the WRX has not changed that much. This is very similar to the 2012 I drove in terms of driving feel and enjoyment and excitement. I mean, it's almost similar to like the 02 WRX. A little bit more horsepower, definitely some more modern amenities, but the same philosophy applies here. I wouldn't even consider the CVT. If you're going to get a CVT Subaru, just get a Legacy or something. I think really my only complaint is the level of aggressiveness with the throttle tuning is a little bit much, especially at like 30-40% throttle. Way too much boost comes on. If you're in the car yourself, you know to expect it, but if you have passengers, it might be a little bit of a surprise. I mean, this is pretty fun in the drive, but really where a car like this shines is in the snow and in the winter. With some winter tires, you could have a blast with this thing. I was in college and I went on a ride with a buddy who had a WRX, and I could not believe the drift angle he could achieve in that thing and just save himself. The all-wheel drive system just pulls you right out. We used to take it ice racing, and it was just awesome. It dominated. It was so much fun to kick it sideways. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up my thoughts on the WRX. Really not a whole lot of new stuff to say about this. It's good. Hopefully this drive is going to give you some insight into what this is like to live with, and what it sounds like, what it feels like, what it drives like on the road. You can have some fun in this thing. It's definitely, I would say, a better daily driver than it is a performance car, but it can put down some impressive numbers, put down some really nice performance in addition to its other merits. So definitely a very relevant enthusiast option today. I think even in this last model year, if you're looking at getting one of these, you kind of can't go wrong. So anyway guys, let me know if you have any more questions. Head on over to Winding Road Magazine and Daily Motor for some more videos and reviews on this WRX. We will see you guys in the next video. Thanks again for watching. Really appreciate all your support. That's it for this one. Take care.